Hey, welcome back to the Big Red Zone. We're very excited for today's show. We have a lot of talk. Sports are back, kind of. Maybe, for now. We talked a little bit about NFL, a little bit of the Red Sox, baseball coming back, and possibly leaving us quickly. Then we have some talks about bubbles.
Yeah, bubbles on the show.
Bubble talk. So, all that and more on this week's episode of the Big Red Zone. Welcome to the podcast. It's Big Red Zone. I'm your host, Big Red. As always, I am joined by my good friend, James.
Hello.
Producer John's over here.
Yo.
And we got a action-packed episode today. We got sports back for the first time in months. It's good to have sports back. And as you've seen, if you don't do so already, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram we did some live tweeting. It's at Big Red Zone. We did live tweeting during the Red Sox game, which was fun. And a lot of Instagram, so make sure you go follow us. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And also tell a friend. Tell a friend about the pod. Share what you hear. And once again, thanks for watching. So starting off this week, it happened, pretty much right after our pod got released. I think it came out. But the formerly known Washington Redskins team changed their name to the ever so creative Washington football team.
Wow. That's crazy.
What a stupid name.
If their sense of creativity is anything, it does reflect their, terrible play. As of late, they're terrible at naming, they're terrible franchises. They're just bad all around.
Owner's a moron.
And there were a lot of great suggestions.
There was.
Like from the internet. I know there was a couple that you liked, or there was one that you mentioned you were like.
I mean, you could have done anything. I mean, if you wanted to say, you're in D.C., you could have came up with something patriotic for.
It could have been patriotic. It could have been like something simple. It could have been like anything.
Could have. Listen,
I was a fan of just calling them the Capitals. Just take one from the NHL and just
I'll tell you what. I'm in probably 8 fantasy football teams a year. I have to come up with 8 different names.
Yes.
If I can come up with 8 different names for a fantasy football team, you can come up with a football name in DC.
Oh, yeah.
That's embarrassing. That was like a terrible... They said they first were coming out with the announcement, which we thought was they were going to come out with a new name. And then they just said, we're working on some names. It was like, dude...
What the hell?
What are you doing? That
was zero effort.
Zero creativity.
I think, you know what I think it is? Because of the way things are with naming stuff and outrage culture and a lot of that, they didn't want to ruffle any feathers at all. So you know what? What's the most generic thing we can have that nobody will be offended by? And they're technically right.
They could have had, they could have done the Dragons. We could have taken an XFL team. What was yours?
Why would you want
the Vipers?
Pipe up. No,
you'd have to pick a winning team like the Roughnecks. Come on.
Washington, I would have taken the Roughnecks. How about the Battlehawks? Battlehawks.
I will have to concede the Battlehawks would have been a cool name for it.
Really cool.
But I think that's also a copyright thing because
do they already have it copyrighted?
Well, yeah, they
even with the XFL out of business.
But the XFL isn't they still have their legal ownership of their copyrights and
stuff
like that.
Then how could they be called the Washington Capitals? If they have that copyrighted in the
But
NHL.
The word capital is not copyrighted by...
The word dragons is not copyrighted by anyone.
Yeah, but I wonder... we were talking about Battlehawks. Battlehawks are
or Vipers. Vipers
you can get away with it because I know Dodge has the Viper and there's other teams that are Viper. So there's certain ones you can and can't get away with, I would think. I'm not a lawyer, but...
Yeah, I feel like it depends on some names.
I'm pretty sure there's no other thing I know of that where the word Battlehawk is a big copyright name.
Probably has to do with the colors too.
They could have new colors.
So they're the Vipers, but not that green and yellow.
Well, they could just make it red, white, and blue. They're in Washington. They didn't change the colors. They kept it maroon and white and gold. It was
I like the colors. I'm glad they kept those.
You like the
That's
colors?
Kind of one thing that I was hoping they would.
Yeah. Connecting to high school, just that you're maroon and white.
They weren't maroon. They were red and gold. The Redskins.
Redskins aren't maroon.
Yeah.
You just said they're maroon.
Yeah. No, I'm saying high school. We were maroon. I said you're staying in touch with your high school
roots.
Our school colors.
What? I don't know what you're...
The Washington Redskins or the Washington football team stuck with maroon.
It's red. It's red and gold.
I thought
it's
it was maroon.
Maybe it's a darker red.
I
don't know if
that
it's
ain't a
maroon.
bright red though.
I don't know if it's maroon.
I'm not good with.
I'm not good with colors either, but I'm pretty sure it's.
I typed in Washington, and before I could even type in like football team, that's what came up. Washington football team is like the actual name that comes.
Yeah.
Like, one of like the top searched. That's maroon. You're telling
What's
me
the name of it? It definitely
Washington
doesn't.
football team.
Because
No,
the
the
Buccaneers
name of
is-
the color.
Oh, I don't
Look up like Washington football team like colors.
Because the
or whatever.
Buccaneers are red,
Yeah.
but the Redskins are darker, so they're like a maroonish.
I would even maybe a burnt orange. Maybe no, not burnt orange. Maybe like a burgundy.
But that's maroon.
Burgundy. No, burgundy
and
is
maroon are the
not
same.
Burgundy is not maroon.
Are you kidding me? No,
Burgundy is
All right,
not
now
maroon. What are you, crazy?
All right, Steve, look up.
Is burgundy?
Welcome back to Sports Talk.
No, we answer the important questions here.
Burgundy is not
I'm gonna
maroon.
type in is
Burgundy maroon.
Yeah.
Not a shade of red. We want is it maroon? Google.
Or are burgundy and maroon the same color?
I mean, technically they're going to be different, but it's going to be like minuscule.
Is burgundy and maroon?
Maroon's
the
got
same
more
color?
purple in it. Like it has like more like maybe just like a deeper. It's like a deeper red.
Burgundy and maroon.
What about it?
Says that there's a little bit of a shade difference.
This is so
little.
Differences
stupid.
between- no, this is important. This is important stuff. Adding a little brown to red, whereas
That's
burgundy,
okay.
maroon. Sorry, I skipped the first part of that sentence. Maroon is made by adding a little brown to the red, whereas burgundy is adding a little purple.
Okay, I had it backwards, but
Opposite.
yeah.
But it's the same thing.
No.
I will bet you right now, if they had jerseys that were burgundy and ones that maroon out in the field, you couldn't tell the difference.
I don't know. The
I will bet you
Wildcats
money.
jerseys look a lot different than the red.
I don't know. It
We-
also
we-
depends too.
But it also depends on like the company, like what color codes they're using for what is their maroon versus
maybe
everyone
they
else's
don't put as
maroon.
much
True.
brown in the red.
Maybe it's a light
Maybe they
maroon.
put more purple in. It creates a different shade.
It's a burgundy.
We're hitting some.
All I'm saying,
It's maroon.
I was right.
yeah.
I was right, is what
I
we're
guess you
getting.
were right.
Splitting hairs
I
here.
guess we'll give you a little bit of a concede to that.
And this is my first win on the big episode 40, whatever we're at. This is
We're
my
hitting the
first win.
high intensity topics here on the Big Red Zone. Is
But-
maroon and burgundy the same color?
That's the
So it's
title.
the title.
Episode 44, Maroon and Burgundy? The MLB's falling apart. We're just like...
There's a pandemic sweeping this
Yeah.
country. Is maroon and burgundy the same color?
It's another one of those things. Like that
It's like
dress.
when you asked like Jess or Jas.
How do you get yourself?
Yeah,
to come
what
in?
or who are your favorite TikTokers?
Oh, that was
We
weird.
asked the. I know.
We're
I'm
not
just,
going to get into
that
that.
was good,
We've
that was
already.
it's the,
But I guess sorry,
the
you go.
hard hitting questions
That's
that
what
we
I was
get
looking
into.
for, the hard-hitting questions.
But to sum it up, basically, they picked a terrible name, but it's good that they're at least keeping the colors.
Yeah.
Because that would have been annoying if they picked new colors. That doesn't make sense.
Well, if they didn't pick a new name, they said this is like a temporary thing until they can come up with a name for their.
Oh, no, now they're
franchise.
committed. I will forever know them.
I don't. They will change
As-
it by next year.
Oh, I'm not going to call them whatever name it
Yeah, I
is.
believe so too.
They're not, and when they do, they're going to rebrand and get rid of the colors. I'm glad that they just kept when they just stayed with Washington football team. I'm glad they didn't.
There's other
change
stuff to
anything.
worry about this year than
Right,
the,
right.
the
Yeah.
team
So-
name.
But it is amazing. You couldn't come up with a team. You had millions of people across the. You could have literally gone on Twitter and just said, "Oh, I like that."
That's what
one."
we did.
That's what we
Yeah,
did.
We literally did a
Yeah.
poll.
I remember at first seeing it and gut reaction was, this is the stupidest thing. And after kind of sitting with it for 5 minutes, I was like, I love it.
It's you can tell a lot by the team's name, and it's awful. And that's exactly what the football team. They're just awful from the top down. Other quick football news that came out a couple days ago.
Maybe yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
Damn, we're recording this on Monday,
Yeah.
July 27th.
It might have come out a couple days ago. Yeah, maybe yesterday. I don't know.
All the days are the same
Yeah, all the
nowadays.
days Jamal Adams from the Jets was traded to the Seahawks.
Which is actually kind of a big trade.
He's been very vocal about how he hates the Jets.
Yeah.
He's got in it with Adam Gase, the coach. I'm trying to pull up the exact trade.
Because I know
thing.
it was an interesting trade.
They got
Like, it
quite
wasn't-
a haul from Seattle.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of picks. a bunch of first rounders, which I know people are a little unhappy with for the Seattle. They think Seattle gave up too much.
Yeah.
But Jamal Adams is a top safety in the league. He's been a Pro Bowl. He's young. He's been to 2 Pro Bowls. Young. I think that's a great trade for them to help boost that already high-powered team. And their defensive, you think the Seahawks, you think the Legion of Boom, and I think that hasn't been around the last few years, and I think he's going to help bring that back.
Hey, he's someone that's going to help out the Seahawks immensely. And especially they're almost always what you consider like a postseason threat.
They're always in the hunt.
So therefore, he's just going to help them out even more. And yeah, they gave up a lot, but
so here's the trade.
Yeah,
the Jets get the 21 and 22 first-round picks from the Seattle. They get a 21 third-round pick, and they got safety Bradley McDonald. Seattle gets Jamal Adams and a 4th-round pick in 2022.
I mean, it's steep. That's definitely a steep price.
I mean, 2 first-round picks for a all-pro safety, I don't think is that bad. I mean, they're giving them a bad
I would think
grade.
with the priorities of Seattle, I don't know if a safety was like the most priority, but you know what? They saw the deal. They said, you know what? Let's hop on it. How old is he now? How old is Jamal?
He's
not that old.
He's in his 20s. He's 24.
Okay. I thought he was 26.
Younger
Okay.
than us.
So therefore, like,
Isn't that
hopefully,
sad? He's younger than us.
no, good for him.
How old is
good
he?
for all these
24. He may be older than you.
Yeah, I turned 24 in June. So
Yeah, he turns 25 in October. So
But
he's older than you, but younger than us. That's kind of makes me sad.
I bet you they paid up for
how's
him.
it
Though,
feel
'cause-
being old, huh? Gen Z gang,
Gen
baby.
I'm sorry, but he might be somebody that sticks around with the Seahawks for a while. He might be a long-term
Yeah, that's
prospect
the thing
for
that
them.
they got to do. They got to sign him to a deal because they did this. Didn't they do the same thing? They did the same thing with Clowney.
Yep.
And
Canadian,
they have to capitalize on these guys that they give up a haul for. They need to sign them to long-term deals because they're getting young defensive studs. They just need to sign them.
And they need them long-term.
Yeah.
Because Seattle's consistent offensively, but they don't really have the top talent necessarily. So therefore, defensively, like safety, be nice.
I think their offense is pretty good.
Well, yeah, but they don't have like any of the top stars. You know what I mean?
Russell Wilson.
Well, I'm not talking
Tyler
quarterback.
Lockett.
Would you consider Lockett like one of the top like 5 or
He was
6?
one of
Like,
we'll have to see how he does this year, but he was one of the top receivers last year.
was he like a top 5? I didn't think
I
so.
don't know if he's top 5, but top 10 last year.
Well, yeah.
Chris Carson.
Yeah, Chris Carson.
I think it's an underrated running back if he stays healthy. They got a bunch of young tight ends. They got 2. What are we talking about? They have Metcalf, DK Metcalf.
Oh, okay. I
forgot
forgot about
He's a
Metcalf.
stud.
Yeah.
They have a lot of talent on that offensive side. I think they're a very talented team all around, and this just helps them boost them go forward.
Fair enough.
And something I've tweeted, I think I tweeted out this past, maybe even today. It's going to be kind of our segue into our next topic.
Yeah.
I hope the NFL is watching what's going on right now
With the MLB.
in the MLB
Yeah.
and what's going on in the NBA. And I really think the only way to like give your chance to finish the season and play a full season is doing a bubble. I think that's the way to do it. You make a bubble somewhere there, like, I don't know.
And it's got to be strictly enforced. Like, this is not just a bubble where you can go out and get food and do whatever. Nah.
Right.
Nah. You got to lock this down.
Right. And I think, and we're going to see how it goes because the Bruins just traveled up to Toronto to go in their bubble for the season. So we'll see how that goes. But I really think the bubble is going to improve the odds of them. They're not out. They're not partying, but they're not out going places, and they're not out in the hotel and stuff like that. They're in
exposure.
one spot. Yeah. And I think that is the way that you're going to finish this season. And I hope they get on it now because, we started training camp. Rookies and quarterbacks, I think, reported today.
Okay.
Or within the last couple days, either tomorrow, the last few days.
Yeah.
They're reporting now. Yeah. They're starting mini camp. There's no preseason games, but they're doing training camp. And I think we need to find a bubble. I really do.
The thing is, the sooner you start this, the more effective this is going to be.
Right.
And you got to start these guys understanding the culture of, look, unfortunately, you don't have, like, if you're going to be a professional athlete and you're going to be in a bubble, you don't have the freedom to just go out and grab, like, Taco Bell or something.
Right.
Like, if you commit to this, you're getting paid a lot of money, but you also have to realize that, like, you're going to have to talk with the franchise about how to get food, how to get certain things.
Right.
You're going to have to live in that bubble solely. And it sucks, don't get me wrong, but the point is, if you let people get away with crap, that's how it all falls apart.
Right.
Like MLB.
As of 41 minutes ago, Roger Goodell just released a statement.
Oh.
But don't get too excited. While this year will forever be defined by a heartbreaking global pandemic and a transformative social justice movement, I am reminded of the tenacious, resilient spirit of our country, the NFL community, and you, the greatest fans in the world. Roger Goodell. What does that mean?
That tells us nothing.
Just didn't say anything. He just didn't say anything.
As usual, you're useless, Goodell. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. That's...
Well, Goodell also was rumored. I heard on the radio today that he told owners and coaches did not talk, like, to basically don't complain about their back to play plan. He told them not to, like,
what is he going to do?
Publicly complain.
Why? Why can't they complain?
I don't know.
What's he going to do?
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying I'm just reporting the news I heard.
I'm not asking you. What I'm saying is, in general, I don't like that idea. Saying that, oh, you're not allowed to complain about, or not allowed to criticize.
Yeah. Well, that's
or
Goodell.
to give constructive criticism.
Goodell is very recently fell to second in most hated commissioners of major sports. So
yeah, but he's working his way back up, man. He's trying,
competing for the top spot.
Dude, I hope half these coaches tell him to stuff it.
Well, like the McCourty brothers have their podcast that comes out every Sunday.
Yeah.
And they are very vocal. Like the last month or so, every week they say like they're nervous about playing. And I think it's serious. I think they need to come up with a better plan. And that plan, I think, involves the bubble. Because if they don't, we're seeing it right now. I'm kind of foreshadowing our thing that we're going to talk about next. Yeah. But I think the MLB season is done. I don't think that they're coming back. No. I really don't. And we knew it. And we knew this was a possibility. There wasn't enough planning, I think. And how much could you plan for? But there wasn't enough planning for if this kind of thing happened where there was a team or two teams that a lot of people tested positive for. There wasn't a good enough plan. And I think that is a problem. That's poor. And I mean, it's hard to blame someone. Like, it's hard to blame Manfred in this situation.
It starts top down, though. It starts top down. If you're setting procedures and you're setting rules and stuff like that of how to do this.
But what my point is, like, there was no way, like, this has never happened before in the history of sports. This hasn't happened before. So I get that it's kind of like a feeling out process, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. Yeah. But you need to kind of figure it out, and you need to say, all right, like when they said sports are coming back, my first thought was, what are we going to do when someone tests positive? Not in the bubble, but during the season, not before the season, because before the season it's easy.
Yeah.
Like Russell Westbrook tested positive before he got to the bubble. Okay, he quarantines for 2 weeks and he comes. It's an easy fix. That's not a problem. But now, what happens when you have 2 or 3 guys test positive in a clubhouse in the MLB? What are you going to do? Do you cancel the game? Do you cancel the season? Do you ask the team to leave? I know there was some soccer teams that in I think MLS, that a team, like 5 or 6 people tested positive, the commissioner said you have to leave. You can't compete in the season, the rest of the season. You need to go home. Is that the answer? I don't know. I'm not saying I know the answer, but there has to be some precautionary things that you think of instead of just, all right, now people are getting it, now we got to cancel the season, like it doesn't look good, which I'm not saying that's a bad solution. I'm just saying that I feel like we're kind of like, we don't know what's going on because we don't have that protocol before we started the season.
Well, I was going to say, real quick before we get deeper into it, can you just give context to what's going on now?
Jump to the...
Well, if that's what you're pivoting into.
So,
I just want to say, just before, because I think we're about to get into it, and I just, before it gets any farther, just kind of give context on what's happening in the situation as of 3 p.m. Monday, July 27th. So, because we don't know when this is coming out yet.
Yeah. So MLB came out today. I'm going to try to find the tweet if I can, or if someone can try to find the tweet. Basically, it started with the Marlins. The Marlins played the Phillies this weekend and opening day weekend. And it came out today, the Marlins, who are supposed to play the Orioles.
Yes.
They had to cancel the game today because they had some crazy number, like 14 people or something like that, players test positive and 2 coaches test positive for coronavirus. So they canceled the game. Understandable. I think that's not crazy out of the loop. But I knew once that came out, all right, they played the Phillies. When are we going to hear about the Phillies? And soon enough, the Phillies canceled their game because I think they had some people test positive. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Not even sure. We know they were exposed.
But I know they were exposed, and I think they had a bunch of people test positive. So they canceled the Phillies-Yankees game that was supposed to happen. I think the Yankees were supposed to play, or Mets, I don't know. But they were supposed to play them tonight as well, so they canceled that game. So it was the Yankees. So now they're having a meeting today, Monday the 27th. Major League Baseball is talking with the owners, commissioner, the league officials. Do we have a season? Do we bother playing the rest of the season? And I am in serious doubts. I don't think that they're gonna. I think that my main belief on this is they're not in a confined space where they're subject to get the virus other places, so it's more likely they're gonna bring it in. There was already so much animosity going into the season between the owners and the players. The owners don't really want to play the season anyway. So I don't foresee, and the players don't really want to play. It sounds like they want to play, but they want to play. They're kind of already in a bad place from these owners, like, because they were getting screwed. And I just don't see it. I don't see them playing the season. We've already seen a bunch of players drop out this year. Justin Verlander retracted a little bit, but he's out. He's supposedly out for the near distant future. Like, people are dropping like flies for a 60-game season, and I don't see it happening. I don't. I blame a little bit on Manfred. I don't blame Manfred for the outbreak happening. I don't blame him for them catching it. I blame him for not having the proper protocols in place because you had to see it. I said, what's going to happen when 5, 6, 10 of these guys get coronavirus, test positive? What are we going to do? Are we going to shut down for 2 weeks and then try to replay? And even today, I guess you cancel the game, but why can't the Orioles and the Yankees play a series?
Yeah.
They both don't play. And I mean, that's not a big concern. They get a couple extra days off.
Yeah.
Or they make them up down the road, but it's they don't have protocols in place to fix this, and I think it's not looking good.
It's the classic case. This starts from the top down, where they should have been contacting medical professionals, and they should have been contacting people and saying, look, what if these scenarios happen? What are our policies and protocols going to be? How are we going to handle this? And what is our long-term game plan? And more importantly, what is a realistic idea of what we can do? And quite frankly, how they're handling this is not appropriate, I would think. The reason being, number one, if any sports team, you have to have a bubble. You have to take the quarantine seriously. You have to tell these players, look, if you want to play this game, whether it's baseball, football, hockey, whatever, you're going to have to commit to it, and you can't leave. You can't go out and do stuff. And it really does suck to lose your freedoms and lose your ability to do this stuff. But the problem is if you don't, then you can't have the sport at all. And not for nothing, then you don't play. And
right.
more important thing is, does the franchise survive? Does the game survive? And do you even make any money at that point? Because that becomes the big question. Again, what happens if the Red Sox, not that they're going to, what happens if the Red Sox goes under and they just go bankrupt? Not that they would.
Yeah.
But then, do they still pay the players? Or what happens if they say, you know what, you were going to get a contract, but you know what, we lost so much money this year because of, people getting sick and us not being able to pay. We're not going to sign all these guys. So it's in a lot of their best interest to say, look, you have to buckle down. And it sucks, but it's what you have to do.
Well,
there's no other way.
On that note, I just had something break on my phone, and it said that according to this article that came out on CBS Sports 1 minute ago, or 13 minutes ago, sorry. It says the MLB has no plans to cancel or pause the 2020 season after the Marlins coronavirus outbreak.
Wow.
So you know what? I'm going to call this.
Any plans.
I'm going to call this right now.
Wait, do you mean they don't have plans as in they're not canceling it?
They have no plans to cancel.
Yeah.
It's going to continue.
Wow.
I'm going to call this right now. A bunch of players are going to get together and say no.
They said Manfred and I'm sorry, I know we're on air. I'm trying to skim this. R.J. Anderson. I don't know if we have to shout out the writer of this article, but that's who wrote it.
Yeah.
of CBS Sports. He said Manfred and the owners intend to instead this is quoted, redouble the health directives, such as players wearing masks or facial coverings in the clubhouse, and reinforce on-field behavior prohibited
behavior? Or?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Against gestures like high fives.
That's not going to stop that.
Sorry, I'm trying to just quickly... because there are no clear guidelines in the agreement between the union and the players' union and the league as it pertains to what would prompt a shutdown. That I'm trying not to read all the junk.
Yeah, but I think we get the point of what you're saying.
So the decision can't be made by Manfred alone. It has to be made by everyone else.
So why didn't they discuss this before they started a season? Because at that point, it's worth delaying for a week or two just to get all the protocols in place and understand what would happen and what constitutes, a team having to either scrap a few games or what would happen if you have to ask a bunch of players, hey, you can't come back. You have to get through this in quarantine and all that. And plus, when you consider because of the incubation period and plus the tests take, you take a couple of days to come back. Now, here's a question you might know. Here's an answer you might know. Do they have enough space in between games or after every game they have enough time to get tested and have the results back before they go to another game?
From my people that I know that work in baseball, I think and from hearing what they, from radio and stuff, they get tested every 2 days. They get the results every 2 days. So
but that's not the...
I don't know what you're asking.
What I'm saying is does their schedule allow... so that you have to wait, for instance, do they have games that are more than 3 or 4 days apart? Is every game for a team? Well, then this can't work.
Every day. Of course they play every day. The Red Sox played Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
But then this is what I'm getting at, is because you don't get the results for a couple of days. What that means is this spreads very quickly, and it screws over both teams. The only way to do this, in which people would actually be safe from the virus, is very simple. You play a game. At the end of the game, everybody gets tested. Once the tests come back that everybody's fine, you play that same day later that day. That's the only way to do that.
You can't. First of all, it takes 2 days to get the test results back.
Exactly.
Second of all, they don't play different teams every other day. They play series every 3 days. So when they get tested that first day or the day before they come in, they know in the middle, if someone tests positive or a bunch of people test positive within that 3 to 4 days stretch, they know. So they know, like the Yankees and the Phillies and the
yes, but then
Marlins.
To know who is infected from that person, you have to then take another test and wait another couple of days.
What do you mean?
All right, let me break this down.
No, just say you're saying if which individual.
By the time they know somebody's infected, everybody's already there. Correct?
There's nothing you can do for that.
But that's what I'm getting at. Is they would be smarter to say, look, you test just before, test a couple of days before the game series starts. If everybody's clean,
you can't do that.
Then why not?
It's going to be near impossible to do a whole season. You want to play 60 games.
I don't care if they only play 30 games.
Well,
I'd rather play 30 games than play no games, because that's where this is going. Where the entire thing would just be shut down. I'd rather them play
no games than 30 games.
Why?
Because that's such a small sample size. You're not going to get the best team. You're not going to get the best team in 30 games.
You're not going to get the best team winning now anyway, will you?
But you're going to get more closer to a team that plays. I totally disagree with playing 30 games, and I know about probably hundreds of baseball players that disagree with that statement.
That's 30,
because let's say this, Sox. Let's say the Red Sox are somewhat. They're bad. They're bad right now. Pitching's terrible.
Okay.
But let's say something happens and they go on a stretch and they beat a couple good teams. Yeah. They have a good week. Yeah. Already in this season that they have, if you have one bad week and you're a good team, you're screwed. Yeah. You can't play. Because I think they did the math. I heard someone on the math. Every game this year counts for 2.5 games in a regular season. Yeah. So round it up to 3.
But I don't think you're getting at what I'm getting at. I understand your argument.
No, but you're saying that it's better to have 30 games.
It's better to have 30 games than what's going to happen is none at all down the road.
I'd rather have no games than 30 games. I'd rather not have a season. I'd rather have everyone stay healthy and not get hurt for a crap 30 games. I guarantee if they did 30 games, Mike Trout would sit out. Yeah. All the big players would sit out. Someone's going to win a World Series that doesn't deserve it, and that's the main thing.
Then I would argue they don't deserve it if they play 60 games. It's not a regular season.
But if they play...
How many games do they have in a regular season?
They play 162.
Yeah, so this is less than half
But
of a regular season. So you get less than half of a world championship, correct?
But of those 60 games, they have the players that matter. And not saying that players don't matter, but the main players like Mike Trout, they have, up until he got hurt, Justin Verlander. They have Mookie Betts. They have the Bellinger. They have these guys that are star players in the game. I guarantee if you play a month season, the Rocks are playing 40 games.
It wouldn't be a month season. It would be stretched
30
over
games.
It would be stretched over a longer period of time because you have to wait for the tests to come back.
I think that it would be foolish to play 30 games. I'd rather them wait it out and see.
Because you're looking. Because if we do the math here, we have until what, mid-November, correct? Mid-November for the end of the season.
I'm not 100%. Oh, I have no Wi-Fi. What happened?
I don't know. I still have Wi-Fi.
It's something like that.
Because think about this: if you're gonna do, it's what, 3 or 4 games in a series typically against a team, 2, 3, 4, somewhere in there.
It's anywhere from 2. Sometimes they do 2-game series. Sometimes they do 4.
So why don't they make all of them like a 3-game series?
Make
them all 3-game series, and what happens is, let's just say you travel on Monday, and when you arrive, you do the tests, and the tests come back on like Wednesday, and then you do the series from Wednesday through Friday, and then they travel back home, and you just do that, because that way you would have at least, then you have the 1 day off. So yeah, you could still do probably 40 games between now and mid-November. The question becomes, what's the difference between 60 and 40? When with 40, you could at least control this, and you can almost not guarantee, but you can have a much better control. What's going on? I don't see the difference between like that number. Like, I don't know why it's a big deal.
Because it from a baseball, someone that's played baseball and been in a baseball business, 20 games is a big difference in a season.
Yeah.
So why are we gonna? First of all, 60 games. What took months to agree on.
Yeah.
For a season, for people to agree on.
Yeah.
That took months to agree on. Some people maybe wanted less. Owners or someone wanted more. 60 was like the agreed upon middle ground. Also, 60 games, like I said, is already, you're right, it is a tough call on who deserves to win. That's why they made a little bit of leeway in that, where they said more teams are making the playoffs. Yeah. That was kind of their way to make up for the teams that if they have like a bad couple weeks, then they can maybe say, all right, they have that little like buffer zone. That if they have those bad weeks, they like, all right, maybe we don't have to get to first place, or we don't have to make that wild card position. Now we have it doubled. Now we have more of a chance to make the playoffs. I just think I don't. It's not that I don't. There's a lot of problems with how the MLB set up this season. There's a lot of problems how they did that. I think no one denies that. I think there's a lot of things they didn't account for. They just said, all right, we'll figure it out as we go. Or maybe they didn't think of it.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is there was things that could have been thought of, and I mentioned it. I said, it's going to be impossible to go this entire season with someone not catching it. It's just going to,
they're all eventually going to be exposed to it as
they're going to have people test positive. Did I think it was going to be 3 days in? No. But they're going to have people test positive. They're going to have, in some cases, 8, maybe double digits people test positive.
In many cases, there might be almost a whole different team out in the field.
Think of it. There's 30 to 40 people play. Like, probably, I forget it's like 32. Maybe they upped it to 40. I forget what the total roster that they can have on an MLB roster this year is. You have all those people. You add probably 5 to 10 coaches in that thing. Now you're up to like 50 people. Mm-hmm. You add clubhouse staff on each side. That's like now probably 20 more. You have 70 people in a confined space. They're spreading it out. They are spreading it out, and they're doing a good job, at least from the Red Sox perspective.
Yeah, from the social distancing.
They're social distancing everyone out. Everyone that I've seen, as long as they're not on the field, but in like the dugout and stuff like that area, they're wearing masks. They're doing a good job at that. But it's nearly impossible to keep people from catching this in having 70 people in a confined space. It's impossible.
You're going to have almost any sport, to be honest with you,
Because now, I heard it, now the Marlins or the visiting clubhouse of the Phillies, they're all being quarantined now. because they all were exposed to the Marlins. They were like close quarters. They were doing their laundry. They were, setting up food. They were cleaning their stuff.
Exactly.
Like they were in there.
You're going to be in close proximity, close contact, and especially in something like baseball and football, where you have a lot of teams, and also hockey as well, when you have teams in locker rooms with also eating areas and clubhouses and stuff. This isn't like tennis, where you can just keep separate, or you know what I mean?
But the difference is what I made a point earlier in the show. The difference between baseball and, let's say, hockey or basketball is hockey and basketball are using the bubble.
Yes.
They're using a confined space, spread out, but confined space, and saying you cannot leave. You can have a certain amount of people in here with you. If they're here, they got to quarantine, and then they can come in and see everything. Like I think they're allowed a couple family, at least for basketball, they're allowed a couple family member guests in. Guests in.
But they stay with them during the duration.
They quarantine for 14 days, and then they can come and stay in, and then if they leave and come back, they got to quarantine for 14 days.
So they have to follow the same protocols.
Right. But the thing is, they don't have all these outside people saying, all right, I'm coming in to go get food. I'm not going out to get food and bringing this back to myself. And you know what I mean? They have I think I saw there was a barber shop. There was like a bunch of stuff in the bubble that they're doing a good job. So if I am Roger Goodell, I am looking at that and saying, all right, using the home facilities isn't working.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty obvious fans aren't going to happen. So let's just call it like it is. Let's start building a bubble or finding a bubble-like area.
And I could think of a couple of, actually, I would think one great place, there's actually a few places you could think of where you could easily, because there are several stadiums that are outside of major cities, like in almost suburban areas.
Yeah.
That'd be the perfect place where you don't have to worry about a bunch of people around it. You don't have to worry about as many security issues. Find stadiums that are just outside major cities, and you're fine.
Well, I heard an interesting take today for a bubble, because we had this discussion.
Now you're talking about
of location
for NFL.
NFL. I heard an interesting take. I got to give the
Vegas?
credit to our commish in our fantasy football with Jack that we were talking about.
I almost want to guess
Potsy,
before you do
commish
it.
Potsy. You won't get it.
I won't get it?
I guarantee you won't get it. And I think it's a great idea.
Is it?
Has potential to be a great idea.
So you're talking
But
about...
it's going to be it's going to be very difficult to work out the logistics, but I think on the surface, it's a good idea.
There's no way they do Foxborough.
No.
I would almost think, like didn't they build a new facility in Vegas?
Well, yeah, the Raiders just built it, but it's not Vegas.
Oh, sorry, well, Raiders. Oakland Raiders, yeah, so... I mean, that wouldn't be a bad facility if they just built it.
So this is where it is. This is what they said, suggestion. There's been a place that the NFL for the last couple of years has been trying to grow their fan base.
Yeah.
And this is totally out of left field. I never heard this, but shout out Potsy over in England.
Oh, no, here's
Having
the
a bubble
problem,
in
though.
England.
Here's the problem.
What?
England isn't that much better than the U.S. when it comes to coronavirus cases, so...
But it's another place where they probably have football arenas that they can spread out and have it so you can lock down in that area. You can build a fan base in there.
But why can't you just do that in the U.S.?
I just think it was a creative, fun way to spread the people out.
Well, actually, arguably, I think England's been doing better. I think England's been doing better. First of all, we're the worst. We're like one of the worst.
Outside of China.
Right. But that's not saying
but
much.
if you take away like New York City, then the rest of the country isn't as...
No, we're pretty
New
bad.
York City is the epicenter of the world outside of China.
You're right, but like the rest of I don't want to get into it, but I'm saying all I'm saying is like the United States is one of the worst right now, and Europe is better, and like and also we can't even like it is though, but we can't even like even just travel ban, like no one can leave the U.S. to go to another country right now.
Yeah, either way.
So either way wouldn't, and also Europe would be stupid
I agree.
to bring all of our corona infested players into their city. That'd be
also,
insane.
Like in England too, I don't think they have any stadiums that are big enough that are outside of like London.
I have no idea.
That's in an area that's like could actually be cordoned off. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it makes sense. You'd be better off going to like the middle of America, somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, like Kansas or something, and finding a stadium out there.
I kind of like it. I kind of like the idea. I think it was. I mean, obviously, like I said,
the logistics would be insane.
Would be insane to figure out.
You'd have to move like a few thousand people, at least, between all the teams and everything else. Yeah, that's a few thousand people. if you want to do a bubble, because they all have to move there, all the training staff.
Yeah, that's a horrible idea.
I don't know. Honestly,
That's an awful idea.
I hate to be mean here, but no.
But in the like you said, bring the coronavirus to England.
Yeah.
They have first of all they have it. But what I mean is they're not going to be out. They're not. It's not like they're going out like sightseeing. They go to the bubble and that's where they stay.
But I mean, like, I don't know. Rules get broken. And also, like, why? Well, if that's the case in Europe, then like James said, how come we couldn't just do that here?
Yeah, the thing is that
I'm not saying that was like. I'm just throwing out an idea of like that I heard.
I just don't get.
I'm sorry to your idea, whoever that was. No.
Yeah, stupid idea.
I appreciate the thought, but no.
Big Red likes it, but damn, it's dumb.
You spread the NFL a little further, and you like have those teams like that's where they're home. You have home like games televised there. You're spreading the game.
I think you're spending so much money to accomplish so little.
You're gonna have to spend a lot of money here anyway.
Yeah, but you're not gonna spend as much here because they're already here.
But you can't. If you want to have a bubble, you can't. You have to build. You have to start.
I mean, if even anything, they won't be allowed to fly there. So that's even the end of the argument now. It's just I know it's just a suggestion, but like it's impossible to do.
The only thing I could see is if they said, you know what, we're going to take this to a country where like coronavirus hasn't been an issue as much.
Shout out New Zealand.
Literally, genuinely, that's what I was thinking. Is like that's the only way I could see if they're like, hey, if we do the proper quarantine, if we do proper medical procedures here.
But that's my same argument with the Europe thing is like New Zealand's not going to want us USA infected asses in there.
But I mean, to be fair, if they did the proper quarantine and everybody was checked out,
right?
Again, if you do this over like a couple week process, saying, all right, before you even get on the plane, everybody's getting tested, and then guess what? You guys are going to be in a part of the airport terminal where you guys are going to sit there for like several days. And once everybody comes back where everybody's clean, then everybody on the flight as well gets tested. That way, everybody coming over, is clean. Without a doubt.
At that point, is that even worth playing football over? Like, I wouldn't want to sit in the airport. Well, I'm saying as a player.
You don't have to, I don't think you have to sit in the airport. You can easily have sleeping quarters already set up where you're going, and then you have to stay there. Like the NBA. The NBA didn't sleep in the terminal to go to Florida. They had their hotels already in Florida. And they said these after being cleaned, this is where you're staying. You have to stay here.
But think of it even now with like the bubbles cause the NBA is currently doing a bubble, right?
The NBA is doing
like think of. I'm curious how.
Sorry, not to. I'm sorry.
What?
Go ahead.
No, I have a totally different point. I'm just saying. I wonder how it is like day to day with them, because like the U.S. had like a half and half quarantine, but like me personally, like there were like 2 or 3 weeks like back in April and March where I just like sat in the house. And I feel like a lot of Americans,
a lot of people did that.
And that was miserable.
Yeah.
But so think of like being an NBA player and just like having to quarantine in a hotel room for what, I don't know how long the season is, months. Like that just sounds miserable. Again, I don't know any details.
Yeah, not for nothing. I hate to say that like I don't really care that much, but you're also somebody that's making a lot of money. And you have the money and time to sit there and chill out, maybe do some at-home exercises, do what you got to do. You could still be productive.
I'm not going to refute that point, but when you're quarantining, you're not quarantining by yourself. You're quarantining with your people. I think so
they'd still be like hanging out.
You're still
and
with
stuff,
your
you think?
team because you all came in the same
Okay.
thing.
Yeah, I guess that makes more sense. Because for some reason I was thinking like I don't know why I thought this.
Like
I don't know why I thought they'd just be like.
At least that's from my perspective.
Right. No, I think you're. That's more accurate.
Here's my thought. The order would be everybody gets tested individually. Whoever is clean, everybody that gets a go, they all meet up in the place beforehand. And they have a gym there at the hotel as well. The hotel is blocked off just for these people. They say, all right, now we have to wait on the airplane staff to get tested and the airplane to get cleaned and the terminal to get cleaned on the way there. Okay, everybody gets on. Everybody's good. We get over to New Zealand, and then they say, all right, now that you've landed, we have a quarantine spot for you. You guys are getting tested again. You guys are going to hang out here. And then once everybody's 100% clean, you're good to move to the bubble, and then that's it. That's a foolproof way.
Not even New Zealand, like anywhere. That's a plan that anywhere that, like in the United States, that's what they're
I have another
have to
thought too. There's several I know universities that aren't like having people back there, that aren't like having people, and they're going to be. Think about it, they have the facilities. There's some of these universities, especially down south, they have massive stadiums, especially dedicated for football. So not for nothing, if they're looking for a place to bubble, and a lot of these areas aren't necessarily downtown, they're in like their own little community kind of area. For like their stadium kind of thing. So you could, in theory, talk to a couple of colleges and say, look, if we couldn't find a stadium that's away from cities, although I'm kind of thinking Foxborough the more I think about it, but If you can't find a stadium that's away, say, you know what, maybe we can talk to a local college or university.
It'd be a case-by-case basis. I know around here, like a lot of colleges are doing like kids, especially like international student stuff, like are going to be allowed back in the dorms, but it's still going to be hybrid, but they can still live on campus. Right. So it'd have to be like if the campus is shut down totally, then like that's way,
obviously
that's
it's
way
up
easier.
to the campus too.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is,
that's
the
not.
campus that's shut down,
mean.
they could make some money off.
Right.
But
they're not going to want to. Like,
why would they want to make money off that?
No, not that they want to make money off it. I think right now a lot of campuses are like, we don't want anyone in this facility.
Yeah,
not granted at a smaller scale, like the Brockton Rocks, the Worcester Bravehearts, they're not allowed to play at their normal place because they don't want anyone on campus, no matter what. They're playing at another facility now.
Fair enough.
But to kind of go back, not to go back too far with the travel ban, the Boston Bruins just got on a flight to go to Canada.
Yeah, but Canada, I think, might be exempt from that.
Canada just shut down the Toronto Blue Jays to play.
Like, I
know. So
the bubbles are in Canada.
Yeah.
So they flew everyone that was not Massachusetts, everyone in the United States up to Canada to their respective bubbles.
But I think they meant international, like outside of like continental U.S. and or the Americas.
I honestly don't know. I thought Canada and Mexico were included in the border thing. I could be wrong, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure too. Like it's very like murky water. What's travel ban? What's not? I agree that it's probably more easier to say we want to put a bubble in Canada versus somewhere overseas.
They also might got an exemption because of how they're doing.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's what I'm saying. But you can. That's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, but the point is, I think Canada is much more apt to say yes to something like that, whereas
they
London
just shut down the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, but they already said yes to hockey, is what I'm saying. Whereas London's saying yes to American football, I don't think is. I would doubt that a lot.
London has been fighting for an NFL team for the last
but not during
years.
A pandemic.
I'm saying right now that would not work.
No,
There's
I agree.
No way.
It would definitely, like I said, I open it
especially
up. Especially
because you lose money every game.
I think we should move on from the hypothetical.
Yeah, but also with that said, the other place they always are trying to put it is down in Mexico or play games down there, which maybe that's another easier way to figure it out because they're trying to. The point of that idea is they're trying to spread the game to other countries.
I mean, I get that.
And if you make a bubble somewhere, maybe Mexico or Canada is the easier route. But I mean, I think if you're going to keep people in the same spot, maybe that's an idea for a place. Because, I mean, the southern states where because you're going to need more than one field in your bubble area.
Well, there are places in Texas I could think of.
Right,
that
was what I first thought of. Like Texas, you have a bunch of football arenas. And stuff
I'm
like that.
sure if the NFL put out a feeler and was like, "Hey, we genuinely need to find a place that could be a bubble,
place
that we can control." And there needs to be multiple. Hopefully, all of them kind of close to each other because you're going to have multiple games running at the same time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They need a place where they have a bunch of football fields or arenas in I would say a good radius, like the NBA.
As long as it's not in a major metropolitan area is a thing.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's doable.
They need to figure it out, but not so much. Forget about going overseas. They need to figure out a bubble type model because playing at different facilities, like playing at your own thing, isn't going to
work.
But the one difference with the NFL, I will say, that may change that is they play once every 7 days. So if you're getting testing in like this, if they found it out on Thursday for a Sunday night game, hey, these people all tested positive, then they're not traveling with the team. But you also have to have that idea because what happens if Tom Brady tests positive for coronavirus on a couple days before a game?
To the Bucs. Well, somebody considers what the NFL would have to say. What the NFL would have to say to the players is, look, we're going to have a mandatory lockdown for players from, if you're playing on Sunday, it starts on Wednesday. You get tested on Wednesday. And you have to be home from Wednesday to whenever. You can't go out and get food.
You have to be locked down 7 days a week. You can't play. You can't go out.
Well, that's what I would like. I don't know if they can enforce that.
They can enforce. I think it has to be.
Then either way, then maybe it's not a bubble, but it's still going to be, hey, all the players are going to be in this hotel with a gym, with a workout space, or their own home. You know what I mean?
But that doesn't answer my question.
What?
What happens if Tom Brady gets coronavirus?
Oh, he doesn't play.
Right. So what does that do to the NFL?
Well, no, not the NFL. What does that do to the Bucs?
No, what does it do to the NFL? You just took one of the title contending teams and took them out for 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's no way around it.
Right.
That's the thing.
So I guess during the regular season it may not matter, but what happens if it happens wild card weekend?
That's the risk about playing a game.
Are you asking a bigger question? Are you asking, is it even worth it? Is that kind of what you're asking?
I'm asking, like, we need to start, like, maybe there's nothing that can be done, but we need to have something that is in play. Like, we need to start thinking about to keep that competitive side there. Maybe not Tom Brady. What happens if, like, 4 of the offensive linemen for a team get sick?
You only have 16 games. It's not like you can. All those games matter a lot more.
Right, but I'm more saying, like, what are we gonna, like? Do we send the whole team home? Is it worth them playing if they like?
Well, I guess look at what's happened with. We'll find out what's happening with the Marlins.
Right,
it's
that's
the same
my point.
thing.
Like, what do we draw the line at and say, all right, there's 11 people here. Do we send this whole team home? Can we do that? Is there a way?
Here's my thought.
I mean, the Marlins stink anyway, but
here's my thought: is maybe they could have it where if you were to play on Sunday and somebody comes back as positive, you can reschedule that game for that Thursday if everybody retests that Sunday and goes home. Maybe everybody retests the Monday or whatever. That way you can have results back by Thursday. You could say, look, whoever's clean, because we had a test that after everybody went home, therefore we know who's clean, and all the people that are clean can come back, and you'll figure it out for Thursday. Maybe that's a solution.
Well, I think they test every day. I don't think that the testing part's the problem. I think they need to come up with they need to think about what happens when people test positive.
But that's what I mean. Like, if enough of your team is out to where, like, you feasibly can't play,
then you got to forfeit the game.
I would just do it. I would just reschedule for the Thursday and see if you can come up with something. See if you can field the team, or the GM of the team could say, look, or the owner of the team could say,
it takes 2 weeks to get over coronavirus, though. So you can't just say, all right, Sunday we're okay, Thursday we'll be all right. That doesn't.
No, I'm saying the people who have coronavirus don't play that Thursday.
Right.
You have a roster. You have second and third string. You replace those guys for the Thursday, or if they're clean, you can do it on Sunday. But the point is, if one person on the team has it, odds are everyone else has been exposed. So you have to isolate and then understand who has been exposed.
Right.
That means as soon as somebody comes back positive, all right, we're going to delay this game. We got to separate everybody, test everybody, figure out, and then on the Thursday we reconvene and have the game, and you replace whoever you need to. And if it happens enough times to a team, then the team says, you know what, we can't field a full team. Maybe we can reschedule this for later in the season. And then that's a conversation you can have, but I don't think that's possible. Some teams are going to have to forfeit games.
Yeah, that's the.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
That there is no.
I don't know.
It's a classic case of suck it up, Buttercup.
I don't really have an answer. I'm not saying like I.
Yeah, no one has an answer.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying like, oh, this is why. Like, I don't think this is right. I'm just saying we need to start thinking of ways to, like, the competitive balance of a game. Like, what's to say like the Bengals say?
Because remember like weeks and weeks ago, we were talking about some sort of like World Series championships. And James, you brought up something. This isn't what it's about, but you brought up something where it's like, oh, like, we'll put an asterisk next to that World Series win or like whatever. I forget what we were talking about, but
I think the Hall of Fame.
Like this whole, that's actually what it was. But like, is this going to be the same thing with what you're saying? Like the competitive thing, like say teams start forfeiting or say this and that and the other thing. Is this World Series win?
Super Bowl,
is this World Series win or Super Bowl win gonna be like that asterisk win?
No matter what you do,
no
matter what you do, I don't know about you guys. I'm always gonna think of this year as, you know what? Almost none of these series are going to be quote unquote legitimate.
Canon. It's not going to be canon.
Exactly. Yeah. But
canon mean, you know what canon means?
No.
We're talking about movies.
Canon means like you know how there's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
So if there's like
consistent. Is
is it like part of that? It's like, oh, that's that's canon. That's part of the universe.
If I were running a lot of these organizations, I'd say, look, there's nothing we could do to make this a regular season.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take what we can as it is and have a different kind of championship or something. But quite frankly, the argument's always going to be, if you win any championships this year and you have like a smaller season, everyone's going to say, you won a championship, but did you?
During the Corona season.
But did you? That's always going to hang over them. That's why I would say, you know what, let's change up what it's called. Let's change up for this year. And then while this is happening,
do more of a tournament style. I guess it's all a tournament style. Maybe don't call it the World Series this year. Maybe just do like
I would do something
tournament or something.
And
That's a good
I
point.
would say, look, once we're done with this, once vaccines out, once we can get back to normal, Then we get back to our regularly scheduled, sports. We get everybody back in shape, and we're good. But
I like that idea.
But if you do that,
yeah,
I'll tell you the negative to that.
Yeah.
If you do that and you say, we're having the Corona tournament for baseball, I'm telling you right now, the money's going to be way less because you're playing, like, possibly, if you say we're just doing a tournament and, like, you play a round-robin tournament, if you have 2 losses, you're out of the tournament. Say that. Teams could play a minimum of 2 games. They could play a maximum, say, 20. I don't know what it would be, depending on the tournament. Is Mike Trout type player, or is Tom Brady going to want to compete in that?
Yeah, that's a good
so
point.
now you're going to have Matt Castle as your starting quarter. Like, it's going to be like, there's no point to have it. If you're not going to have your main stars in it, there's no reason to have this. That's my point with the baseball. If you're going to play 30 games and you're going to have AAA guys playing at the major league level, there is no reason. To play the season.
Then what's going to happen is just like in baseball, where all the sports will stop a third of the way into the season, and you won't have any more sports for like the next year. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to call this right
that's
now.
even a bigger...
Then what's the difference?
The difference is, at least with this tournament style or something else, you have much more control, and you're not adhering to older standards. That's the point. I'm not caring what they did last year about their season. I'm not looking at last year's numbers. This is a whole different thing.
I'm not even talking about numbers. I'm talking about
players.
You are. Yeah. No, I'm not talking about numbers. I'm talking about players, the product that the people are putting on the field.
Yeah.
It's not going to be worth having it. It's not. It's not like you're not going to have a Major League Baseball tournament. It's not going to be worth it to have guys like Verlander, Scherzer, Trout, Betts, Bellinger not playing. It's not worth it. People aren't going to watch it. People aren't going to care about it.
Why wouldn't they watch it?
Because it's AAA. No one cares.
I would still.
What's the AAA numbers of games, watching numbers?
I couldn't tell you.
Probably poor.
It's probably less than 1%.
You guys work at the Brockton Rocks. You know no one watches.
No one comes. We're going to have games on Nesson. Shout out Brockton Rocks are going to be on Nesson in the coming weeks.
Wait, are they really?
Yeah. They got a Nesson contract.
I know that.
Nesson puts on a couple games, like random games on there.
Yeah.
Like all regularly, not like just because.
Yeah.
Probably they're doing more because of the coronavirus. Because there's no games. But anyways, maybe more people than not would watch it. Like more people than normal would watch it. But it's still going to be like fractions of a improvement.
Because you're not seeing what I'm seeing, which is most sports aren't happening. No. At least have something happen, because you know what? If baseball is the only thing on, even if it's a tournament, guess what? Everybody's watching.
Did you watch opening day?
Unfortunately, I couldn't because I was busy.
Did you watch any of the games so far this season?
I have literally been busy this entire weekend.
Before we get into, I don't know if you're pivoting into Red Sox talk, but my question is, like...
We'll get to that.
Because all it would be, it'd be similar to what it is now, I guess, but it would just be like a tournament as opposed to it being the World Series. So I guess I'm not making a point, I'm genuinely asking. Is the name like, the World Series championship versus, you won the 2020 inaugural blah, blah, blah tournament?
People won't care.
That's what I'm asking. Like, I think, because that's what I guess at that point, maybe it's just a mental or psychological thing. Like, we care about the World Series, even though it's going to be the same thing.
Probably the same thing.
It's going to be the same thing.
You can call it the same thing, too. But people, if you're saying...
Like, if you call it like the World Series tournament, or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. If you say we're playing just the World Series, we're going to play... Like, the NBA got away with this because they were already 90% of the way through their season.
Right.
They had probably... When did this happen? Mid-March?
Everything lockdown was like March 15th is when
March 15th. So they had maybe 3 weeks left. Maybe.
Interesting.
So now they can get away with saying, all right, we're going to cut off a couple games of regular season. We're not going to bring back.
So your whole thing is people want a full thing or nothing? Kinda. Like
baseball, 60 games. It's not the full
or
thing.
But that's but like a full by full, I mean like as authentic to a World Series season as you can get.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's what fans, like sports fans, on the majority want to see.
They're gonna feel like it's cheap if it's not the World Series season.
Well, but like even if they said, my point is with it, not even from like kind of saying that, but if you're coming out with a World Series tournament, I guarantee main high market players, the players that people watch the games for, which that's a whole other subject. MLB does terribly at marketing their star players.
Oh yeah.
People from the East Coast see Mike Trout play maybe like, I don't know, 5 times a year, something like that when they go away. 6, maybe like 10 times a year. I don't know what it is. Because games are either played at 10 o'clock or they play them at home and you see them at normal times. You're not seeing I guarantee, I don't know, I can't say for you, but how many times have you seen Mike Trout play a baseball game? I know you're not.
0.
0. He's a Michael
I found
Jordan
out who he
term.
was. I found coming from a casual. This is kind of the role that I lend to the podcast. Is I'm the casual sports guy. I found out about Mike Trout. I want to say 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Solely based off of like people saying like, oh, he's like the greatest baseball player ever.
Right.
I didn't know who he was before that. I never saw him play. I still haven't seen him play. I just know that he's just off of like knowing who Jeff Gordon is when you're like born, because you just know like, oh, Jeff Gordon, he's the most famous NASCAR, or he's the best, or whatever.
They're typical. They're like household names.
Right. That's the only reason why I know.
He's
Mike
like LeBron James now.
Right.
And
That's
he's like Michael Jordan.
Right.
Everyone
that's what I've learned.
across the world knew who Michael Jordan was and knows who LeBron James is.
Yeah.
People maybe know Mike Trout, maybe they don't. Maybe they've heard of him here and there, but I guarantee a high percentage of them haven't seen him play. Even on TV.
Right.
Well, I guess what you're getting at.
I don't want to dive into that because that's a whole other subject.
I could sum it up very simply if you want. The amount of people that have watched football and have seen Tom Brady play, 99% of all people that watch football, if not everybody guaranteed, has seen Tom Brady play. The amount of people that watch baseball and have seen Mike Trout, you're going to talk about what, maybe 40% of people over here that watch baseball? Like 10% of casual people? What I'm getting at is what the point is that those people don't get the same kind of exposure and aren't really exposed as much around where you actually get to see them play.
And that's even just like the channels. Like MLB won't, like it depends on what game you get on your
local. It's more local based.
Right,
and that, as also coming from someone that's a big baseball
fan.
Shout
out r/MLB streams.
So yeah, you got to see it. You got to see it.
Wait, hey, don't, hey, whoa.
That light got to see it. What?
I didn't see,
nothing.
I don't know what that website is. Sure.
You saw it
technically.
Yeah. My point is on top, like, I guess, like visually, they don't market their players. Like LeBron has a personality. Like him or hate him, you know of LeBron. Yeah. Like you get to hear him. You get to hear him.
I've never seen Mike Trout talk.
That's why I love I think I tweeted out and we've tweeted out on our Instagram, our Twitter. Mic'd up is such a great idea because you get to get in, like, hear, like, I honestly couldn't tell you what Jackie Bradley Jr. sounds like. I couldn't until in that game, even though it was the terrible mic'd up situation. Because
that was so funny.
Hey, how's your kid?
Whoever's doing the audio for that really needs to get that.
But
just fix it.
I didn't know, like, that made me kind of like connect with JBJ a little more.
You know, though,
I spot on impression, wasn't it?
He acts like everyone. It's just not. He has like everyone who his kid was or how their kid is. He seems like a sweet guy.
Like when they did that, they started doing this in spring training with Mookie like a couple years ago. Shout out Mookie.
Yeah.
They did it. They gave him a mic'd up situation in spring training.
Yeah.
They need to do more of that. They need to market their players more. Yeah. So now I don't fall in love maybe with the Angels, but I'm a fan of Mike Trout, and I get to appreciate
Get Mike Trout on
greatness.
Fallon more.
Get him on
something.
Get him on something.
That's one thing the NBA does really well, probably better than almost anywhere else.
Yeah.
Is letting their star players, really any of them, let them have their own personality, their own voice, and be prominent about it and really push it. And I know the NFL kind of does that, but really, you're talking about the MLB. They don't do any of that.
I'll tell you
what,
what,
not even close.
I may not watch I don't watch every NFL game each week. I watch a lot of them. I watch a Thursday night game. I probably watch 2 to 3 Sunday games.
Yep.
I'm always flipping on the NFL Network. It says go to Red Zone, and then I watch Monday night game. And even when it's on college football, I watch a lot of football during the fall. But one of the things I do watch religiously on Tuesday or Wednesday is Mic'd Up. I always watch the compilation of.
That was so cool with the XFL.
Right.
That's what we always
That's what we talked about with
yeah.
Ty.
Yeah.
So I know we got a little bit off on the tangent. I forget what my point was about that.
Yeah, we were talking about COVID like 25 minutes
25
ago or
minutes
whatever.
ago. I knew I didn't want to get into this because it's something I'm passionate about. But
that's fine. We got the time.
They need to do better on long short marketing their players. And that, I think, we talked about since the baseball's kind of dying, that will help. If people fall in love with players,
they're more apt to watch.
They're more apt to watch.
Well, look at me and Mookie.
Exactly.
I love Mookie, and I think because he seems like a charismatic and nice guy, and if they push him a little more and accentuated that, he'd be I mean, he is a star, but you know what I mean? He'd be the Rock of MLB.
Prime example right now are the Buccaneers, Tampa Bay, getting a massive new following of people just following because of Brady. And that's a prime example. And there's a lot of those. But when we look at MLB, like Mookie, Mike Trout, and a couple other guys, that's all you got. Really, that they're like people that might follow. But imagine if they pushed these guys to the forefront like all the time and had them do stuff, did their own little segments, had their own funny little clips. Like if they really push social media, which why MLB doesn't, I don't know, because it's one of the perfect games ever to push funny like segments. Because baseball players are funny. Like I'm not saying other ones aren't, but there's a lot of moments in baseball.
The mascots have a lot of like funny content.
There's a lot of funny moments in downtime in baseball.
Let me ask this: it might just be a sense of the times, or maybe I was a kid or whatever, but I remember like the 2004 Red Sox, right? Yeah. I knew every player.
Same. Right.
I knew, and again, I don't know if this is just from being a kid and being more into it, or just having more time and just knowing the players, or what I'm getting at is if maybe back then there were more star, like whatever. Because I knew like Manny, Johnny Damon, David Ortiz, Jason Varitek. Like I knew the whole lineup. And again, I don't know if that's because of the time and I was a kid, or if it's more like
I think it's a bit of both,
they were actual stars. That's what I think.
I would say that 04 team, first of all, had probably the biggest personalities. Rival, like if you look at all the championship teams,
Yankees did too.
Yeah.
They did, but the Red Sox in 04 were like the goofballs. Like they were like they were like these bunch of, they said that was their nickname, the bunch of idiots. Like that was like
Bronson Arroyo was like making songs and stuff.
Yeah, he was singing on the side. Yeah. Johnny Damon had the Jesus hair and the beard. Yep. Manny was cutting off throws in left field. He was taking a bathroom break and left in the monster. Yeah. Like there was like little things that were funny, like David Ortiz. There was more of a personality on that. Pedro, there was more personalities on that team. Plus, baseball was bigger then than it is now.
Okay.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Like without a doubt, 16 years ago, baseball was
quick math.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Wow.
16 years ago, it was more prominent in culture. Some may say even rivaling around the same as football.
Okay, that's basically what I was asking.
I would argue this is that back then, at least from what I can remember as being a kid, I saw a lot more baseball players on TV and being interviewed and doing stuff than football at the time. And now it's at the point where it's NBA and football more.
And I tend to think, like when I relate to that, I think if you look at it, I mean they did have 2 world championships, but
think about it. There was some that
the Patriots weren't as prominent as they are now. They weren't the dynasty. The Red Sox were the team in Boston.
Even football in general, though, like it's
football
really,
wasn't as big as it is now.
The last 20 years has been huge.
And basketball wasn't as big. It was big. I shouldn't say that.
I was gonna say the late 80s was like.
But in Boston, basketball wasn't. Forget in 08. The year before, they were a seller team. They were terrible. Doc was about to be fired. Paul was wanted out. Like basketball was not big in Boston.
Is that when the Big 3 trade happened in 08?
Yeah, okay. 08 was when Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. The year before that, Paul wanted to be. That's why I get mad at. Like I'm more of a KG guy than a Paul Pierce guy because Paul, even though he stayed with us so long, he wanted out. Like he always asked to be traded. So I don't. This happens all the time.
You get so animated and you get aggressive and. I'm gonna have to
for the audio listeners. Steve just knocked over.
Steve just knocked over the headset amp and has been abusive to it all day.
But
I can do that.
We're at like an hour. Do you want to keep going? Do you want to talk about the Red Sox weekend? What do you want to talk about?
I'll transition to. I mean, we can look at the Red Sox.
We did take a very unexpected pivot, which I'm not mad about. Yeah. It was interesting.
I know we still have people's topics as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about the Red Sox because even though if this is their season,
it could be.
This could be it for them. First night, if you pay attention to our Twitter, shout out at Big Red Zone, you saw a lot of lively tweets from us. And I'm not gonna lie. I got a little happy. I was a little overexcited. I really thought that.
I tweeted like 16-0.
I tweeted get the duck boats ready. Like I was like.
So a little bit of context here. I was out back doing some yard work and getting some stuff done because I live on a farm and stuff like that. And let me tell you, my phone was blowing the hell up from the both you guys tweeting. And I'm sitting thinking like, is there an emergency going on?
Oh, you get like
it's-
notifications.
Yeah,
from it?
I have
I got those
notifications on.
turned off.
No, so I'm sitting there, I'm outside doing stuff. All here is like ding,
That's funny.
ding, 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 ding.
And I think like my overall take on this weekend. First of all, if you're playing the Orioles, as bad as they are, you got to win the series. Maybe not sweep, but you got to win 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
And I think it's just proven our talk that we talked about at the end. I think one of the questions last week for people's topic, what are you more concerned about, the bullpen or the starting pitching?
Yeah.
And I think we just said pitching in general is it's bad. Their starting pitching, it reaffirmed my fear because I said starting pitching. Their starting pitching is terrible.
And to be fair, didn't we talk about this like 6 months ago on the podcast?
Well, when they traded David
discussed
Price.
this?
Yeah.
This has been something we've known for a long time.
The guy that's starting, I think, tonight, or starting against the Mets, game 1, he's 31, never started a major league game.
What?
Really?
Who is it?
Who was the guy that pitched the first game?
How
come he's not pitching?
Nathan Eovaldi?
Yeah.
You pitch once every 5 games.
Yeah.
Is that like
That's the starter.
Right.
Starters pitch every once out of 5 games.
really?
Because you throw like 100
Oh
pitches.
yeah.
You're gonna,
Yeah.
Oh okay.
You
Well,
can't wear them out.
We're not Nolan
I
Ryan.
didn't
Nolan
know.
Ryan
I mean,
used to
I never
pitch,
thought about it, but
Yeah.
interesting.
That's
Yeah.
why you have such like a long pitching staff for a lot of these teams. Like,
Yeah,
you
they have
to a deep
5
roster.
starters and then like
Because the
bullpen.
dude Perez was getting a lot of
Perez
crap.
was terrible.
He was bad.
Weber was not good. And they're not starters.
No.
That
You have
kid, sorry, keep going. I was going to bring up a different topic. Keep
What-
going on the pitchers.
What are you talking about?
I was going to
Verdugo?
say, I was just mentioning Verdugo is not bad.
Now, that's the positive. I don't have a problem, and I said it in the pod many times. Their offense is really good.
Yeah.
Even taking out Mookie out of the equation, my concern is still high with Andrew Benintendi, and it's very high for Andrew Benintendi.
He's starting tonight. If the game plays, he's starting tonight.
He started the last few.
Or
started
he's
every-
leading.
he's-
I mean,
oh, he's lead off?
Sorry, he's leading.
Well, your leadoff man is 0 for
Yeah.
10, so we need
Cool.
to start figuring out. He may be moving down in the lineup if that's the case. But taking out Mookie, I love the compliments of Pilar. I think Pilar had an awesome game.
Yep.
I think that
Kevin Pillar not in the lineup tonight.
I don't get it. He wasn't in the lineup night 2. Oh my goodness. And Verdugo, love him. I think he's funny. He's fun to watch.
Uh-huh.
Personality.
Can I read you the starting
Yeah,
lineup
give me the
tonight?
starting lineup.
Benintendi, Martinez, Devers, Bogarts, Moreland, Vasquez, Verdugo, Bradley Jr., Peraza, and then Osich is the opening pitcher.
Can I see?
Yeah.
Because
I know. I always get the pronunciations.
Okay. So, looking at this, Benintendi is, I said, 0 for 10. So, I definitely would have put him leading off. The JD Martinez is something that's been talked about because he's batted second, and he's arguably their best hitter in the in their lineup. And he's batting second, which I heard that's a new thing. People are putting their number 1 hitter at 2. I would put him at 3 or 4, but probably at 3.
Yeah,
but
'cause you want somebody on base at least. Like, you
yeah,
want-
I mean, like Mike Trout hits second, but he steals a bunch of bags. So, like, I understand him hitting too. Devers needs to figure it out because he's one. I'm more concerned about him because he is really good and he's not been looking good the last 3 games. But I'm hoping he figures it out. Moreland's been looking pretty good. I like him. Verdugo, I'm excited. JBJ, I will support JBJ to the day I die. All you people telling to trade him away the last 4 years, I understand, but I don't like it. I've always been a big JBJ
Big Red
guy.
will attack you in the
I'm a
comments.
huge JBJ guy.
Comment negative JBJ stuff on Instagram or Twitter. I dare
Where
you.
on Instagram or Twitter? Where can they comment at?
Oh, at Big Red Zone. I didn't know what you were
Set
getting
'em up.
at.
Tell a friend.
I was like gonna show you.
Throw the layup, baby.
I was like, oh, right here.
And Perez, I like Perez. This new guy playing second
Yeah.
base. I actually really like him. I honestly, I'm ready. You can't do it. Yeah, sorry. I wouldn't. You can't do it yet. But I'm ready to start benching Benintendi for Pilar. And it sounds crazy, but I want to see more Pilar. Put Verdugo in left. Put Pilar in right.
Yep.
And have JBJ in center. I want to see what that outfield can do.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Devers has looked bad defensively and offensively. He's looked bad to start, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. It's only 3 games. And the main concerns for me is Ron Renicky is terrible at managing a game. He's terrible. He gave Bogarts the day off, night 2,
Why?
because it was a night to day game. I was like, are you kidding me?
You need Bogarts.
He's tired after one day? You're
No, I
benching
don't believe
Bogarts, and then they bring him in halfway through the game. So what is it? Is he off or is he playing? He still got 2 at-bats and played for half the game.
But then why didn't you start with
And
him?
at that time, like, the game was already pretty much over because you were like down by like 5 runs. So I don't get, like, he makes a lot of bad decisions as a manager because he's new and doesn't make a lot of, like, he hasn't been in that position. But it makes me very upset that we lost Alex Cora. It reaffirms my belief that we need to get a guy like Alex Cora or it's an actual manager in here next year. And pitching is just terrible. I joked about it. I think I tweeted it I don't know if it was on our account or if it was mine, but I said it was good that we got Matt Barnes and Brandon Workman a night off because they're going to pitch the next like 59 games. And it's true. Like, you're going to overwork these guys again, and because we have no one. The Red Sox need to go out in the offseason and get starters. Guys that are capable guys that have played in the league for a while or young studs. I'm so fed up with this pitching and this bullpen and treating it like we're a low market team. We have millions of dollars. I don't know if I want to say billions, but you have millions of dollars in that
Well, they're worth billions of dollars.
Yeah. And you're telling me we can't afford to go get a starting pitcher?
The thing is, I understand what if they said, look, because of Rona and everything else, we're going to take this season easy. And then next season,
but
we're going to spend the money.
You don't have that benefit of when you're the Red Sox. You can't say that as the Boston Red Sox. There's some
Why
teams
not?
you can say that as, and there's some teams you can't.
Why not?
Because the culture.
But it's a smarter move.
The culture of the Boston Red Sox, you can't get away. It's like the Patriots saying, Bill Belichick coming out and saying, you know what, guys? We're going to tank this year. We're going to get some good draft picks. We're going to take it easy. We're going to shut everyone down. There would be anarchy.
Am I the one that would support him?
There would be absolute anarchy.
And you know what the funny thing is? He would probably
games.
still be right. Because every time I've questioned Bill Belichick, 90% of the time he's been right.
True, but I've questioned Ron Renicky a bunch of times, and so far he's 1-3. So and he has he sat Bogarts. Was Bogarts in the lineup for that game?
Tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in the lineup?
So.
Okay. I don't remember. I didn't remember reading his name. Okay.
But I think
I was going to say, if they took Bogarts in, he's rested 2 out of the first 4 games. It's absolutely appalling.
But the way these
if
sports
the game
go,
even happens
if the
tonight.
game even
Yeah,
happens,
yeah.
yeah.
But the way these sports go, you cannot expect to be a top team every single year. Now, I know in baseball it's different. I know.
No, not baseball. In Boston, it's different.
Well,
in Boston, you cannot be. Even the Celtics teams that you knew had no chance to win the title. They were competitive teams. You have to put a competitive product on the field to at least have that thought like, oh, we're going to make a playoff push. Everyone has the goal of winning the World Series and winning the championship.
Yeah.
That's not common. But if you don't make the playoffs in Boston, look at Bobby Valentine was terrible, but he missed the playoffs, had a terrible year. He was out after 1 year. Usually managers get a year to like kind of like
they get a
figure
few
it
years
out.
to figure. You get like 3
You're
years.
out.
You know?
John Farrell had like the best, won the division, I think, 3 out of 4 years, won the World Series, missed it 1 year, was cut. Everyone hated him because he didn't win a World Series. He won the division 3 years and won a World Series, and he was cut.
I appreciate holding people to a high standard when you know you can do it, but the point with sports now is because of the cost and because of really talking about the top tier of players trying to get them, the cost of doing that and also the training and everything, you cannot expect every year to make it to postseason.
Oh, it's unrealistic, but I'm just saying, if you're in Boston, let me tell you something. If you went to like Oakland and played in the athletics organization, making the playoffs is seen as a success.
Yeah, as it should be.
If you make it to the wild card game and get bounced as the Red Sox, maybe not this year. I think this year they would say like, all right, they're at least realistic. But if you don't have a competitive product out there, your manager's getting fired, your GM's getting fired. I'm already on the get John Henry out of bandwagon because he's been nothing but he is single-handedly ruining this team. I think being in Boston, you have to be a competitive team. Maybe not make the playoffs because the Red Sox didn't make the playoffs, and I mean we had a lot of bad blood last year. But you have to be competitive, and the Red Sox are not competitive with this pitching lineup.
No,
They're not. And they have a guy called named Brian Johnson, who's a veteran guy that they decided not to have on the active roster, which is absolutely appalling because you have a bunch of guys that are terrible pitching for your game. He can start. He can get 5 innings out, giving up maybe a run or two.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
That's what I'd expect for him to do. Maybe a couple clunkers here and there, a couple gems here and there. But he is a guy that's done it before, and the fact that he is not there proves that this team is just flawed. They have no pitching.
Yeah.
So,
but they didn't fix a problem that we called, 6 months ago. But all right, shall we move on to a people's topic?
So we're gonna get into our last segment, the people's topic.
The people's topic.
All right. As always, people's topic. You can write into Instagram, Twitter. At Big Red Zone. You can also, I think you can put it in the comments. We'll say you can put it in the comments at YouTube.
If you ask us a question anywhere, we'll answer it.
Any place where we post anything.
Tell a friend to ask a question.
It helps me out if you put it where I ask you to.
Yeah.
But if you're on the comment, whatever, anywhere you want is fine.
So take it away, Producer John. Let's hear this week's People's Topic.
We're gonna. I didn't know where the segue. Did the segue already happen?
It already happened. That was nice.
We're gonna start on Twitter this week. I feel like we never really go Twitter.
We never get Twitter comments.
I said we never go Twitter to make it seem like we do, but
okay. Yeah, we never go to Twitter.
What from at Sammy Swoosh. What do you think is the biggest factor for the Celtics to make a deep playoff run this year?
Good question. James?
100% you.
Okay.
I think that's 100% you right now. I don't know what to think.
I'll be honest, if they score more points than the other team,
I think the main goal is that they keep the other team from scoring. And if we can score more points than them, at least one.
That joke is almost like the I don't know, if you're like at a bar and you're talking to some dude who's like not a sports guy, he's like, "Oh, did they get a touchdown in the hoop this year?" It's shut up.
I think the main concern with the Celtics is health. I mean, I said it before, having a couple weeks off, a couple months off, I should say. Really did.
Do you mean health that's like not COVID related, like health
COVID,
in general?
But I mean healthy, saying healthy, like Gordon Hayward, as long as he's right with his ankle, and he's had some leg injuries this year. Jaylen Brown has had some ankle injuries this year. Smart is still he had COVID, so who knows how, he's obviously over it now, and he's had months to work up, back to basketball shape. But I think that's the main thing, because Kemba with his knee, if they can stay healthy, if that starting lineup can stay healthy throughout the postseason run, I think they have a very good shot to win the title.
Not to go back. I know we spent like 40 minutes on Corona, but I can't find it now. But I saw something. Again, I'm not a health expert. I don't know anything about anything. But it is
anything.
I don't know anything about anything. But it is a respiratory illness, and depending on who it affects. I saw something on Twitter, and again, I don't know where the tweet went, but some MLB pitcher had Corona, got over it, but there's lasting respiratory effects in them. So it's it even goes to right. That's that's what I mean. It's it even goes to say Marcus Smart starts playing or whatever, and God forbid, I'm not wishing this. God forbid, he's run. He's like, oh, my breathing is still a little messed up. You know what I mean? So the COVID stuff really even extends past you're fine after 2 weeks, because it's different with everyone, as we have seen.
Yeah, right.
Who knows? Like I said, I wish I had the tweet. I don't know what MLB pitcher it is, but there's still he's had it, but he's over it. But there's still lasting effects with his respiratory system that affected him during whatever game or whatever. So it's even lasting effects for that you have to take in consideration.
Yeah, that's I'm going to be interested to see how Russell Westbrook does, because I think he's joined the bubble by now, because he was tested positive at home and waited the 2 weeks to come back to go to training camp. But I'm interested to see how he does in this bubble situation, because he's just getting over it in the last month. Marcus Smart at least had months to that's why I was I don't know, because I don't know him and everyone's different, but Marcus Smart has at least had a few months to get in basketball shape again. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's definitely, health is the biggest concern.
I found the tweet from Kellen Squire, I don't know who that is on Twitter, A 27-year-old starting MLB pitcher couldn't throw 20 pitches without getting exhausted after quote-unquote recovering from COVID. Now it looks like he might have permanent heart damage. That pitcher is Red Sox pitcher Eduardo Rodriguez.
Yeah, that's why Eduardo Rodriguez, who was supposed to be our ace this year, isn't playing with the Sox.
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to be opening day starter, so
it even extends to like, I mean, it even goes again.
He was
not
just
to,
tested positive a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
But he did have some heart. I heard rumors of heart complications due to COVID. So like, I guess I'm hoping the best for him, and I hope because it's still kind of recent.
Yeah. And not to get that's what I was saying. Not to get all the way back into the COVID stuff, but like that's the whole thing with like them not doing a bubble and just how irresponsible it is. Because even if they get sick, because you run the risk of like I think a lot of people think of it as like, oh, if I get sick, I'm probably going to be like asymptomatic, and good for you, that's great. But like there are these people like Eduardo who it's gonna if they're not doing the bubble and they're not playing it safe, as we just talked about for 40 minutes, like you're running the risk of serious long-term health conditions because for these people that
right,
and that's gonna be on whoever's in charge of being the guy that's like, oh, we're not doing a bubble. But second question? Second question, fellas?
Yeah. Good.
It's another NBA question, so
I'm up.
I'm
Exactly.
up. I'm up.
It's all Steve.
Ooh, all right, this one's from Joseph, and he DM'd me to pronounce how to pronounce his name right. Let me pull it up.
3 weeks in a row.
3 weeks in a row. Love this dude. Celia. Joseph Celia. He sent me his pronunciation, so I appreciate that, Joseph.
You,
I just lost it. He asks, Game 7. All right, so let me paint a picture for you. This is a scenario.
Oh, I love
Game
pictures.
7, tie game.
Oh,
5 seconds left. What current NBA player do you want taking the last shot?
do we need a 3 or 2? Tied? Wait, did you say tie
He
game?
didn't. Tie game. Tie game.
Okay. Do you have any idea?
Braun. I'm going Braun.
Just throw LeBron.
Yeah, you can just throw LeBron in there. I'm going
LeBron
Braun.
there. There's 2 guys that come to mind immediately, but
Who?
well, one of my favorite guys is Kawhi. He's done a
Okay.
lot. He's cold-blooded. But the guy that doesn't get a lot of credit, which I think I'm going to go with, is Damian Lillard. He has ice in his veins, and he's not like someone that gets a lot of like press and a lot of credit, but he's like a clutch player. And he plays in Portland, so a lot of people know him.
I think he just put out a rap album.
He may have.
Dame Dollar.
Good for him.
You know about that?
No.
You never heard Dame Dollar?
No,
Like
I don't know
music?
these guys rapping.
Man, he's not bad.
Really?
It's better than Antonio Brown.
Hey, he retired again. We're just kind of.
Yeah,
I think we're wrapping up. He just retired again.
Wow.
Dame Dollar.
Yeah, he's pretty good at shooting too.
Yeah,
he's pretty
that's
good at that
him.
old basketball thing. So I think that's it for people's topic. Once again, like we said, anytime during the week, doesn't have to be when we put out the post. If you have a question or a topic that you want us to talk about, hit us in the DM comments on our Instagram or Twitter at Big Red Zone, or on YouTube. You can just look it up, Big Red Zone, and if you do and you're watching it, click the like button and subscribe to the channel.
Before we wrap up, we're at a little more housekeeping, kind of extending on what we talked about. Almost at 800 followers on Instagram. Road to 1,000 is what we're trying to get at.
Yep.
So again, if you could tell a friend to just follow us, listen to the podcast, that'd be great. Word of mouth works arguably the best to spread the podcast. It feels like we're in a good spot. Feels like we're definitely on an upswing. We want to kind of keep that up. Road to 1,000 followers on Instagram. Road to 100 subscribers on YouTube. And if we hit any of those milestones, maybe producer John will start a Twitter account. Maybe producer John gets a camera. We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
Maybe.
We don't know yet.
Maybe
we'll see.
We'll
So
see.
if you want me to be allowed
Don't
more
tell 'em
freedom,
Don't tell them that, because then they're not going to want to. Maybe they don't want to see you.
maybe they don't like me.
No, they like you, but maybe they want the like
The mystique.
The mystique.
I kind of like the
not seeing
mystique.
the
I kind of like the mystique. But so we'll say the Twitter account for now.
Yeah.
But so if you want, hey,
You want
You want
a little
some-
more from producer
do you want some
John?
hot takes on some, wrestling and watching the Red Sox and throwing out some F-bombs on there. 'Cause we can't do that on the
Can't
the
do
page.
That. Can't
Can do it on my page though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get out of here. Send them home. Send us home, Big Red.
Well, on that note, always thank you, producer John and James, for coming along on this ride.
F you, Pat. F you, Pat McAfee. We'll send it on a F you, Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
Just kidding. That's a reference. We like Pat McAfee. That's a reference.
That's a reference. On that note, have a great week, everyone.